This is the B-side, 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 the marriage. This is the B-side, 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 the marriage.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Bsideofmarriage podcast. My name is Rashonda, and this is my husband,
Jason.
And this is a podcast where we discuss everything about marriage, the good, the bad, the A, and the B side. So, if you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much for watching or listening. We love to have you. Please be sure to like, comment, and share across all platforms. I'm trying to make sure if that's right, because I don't know. We're still new at this. But yeah, so with that being said, so let's jump into our first segment, our only segment, but whatever, where we like to share something that happened to us this past week, and it could be our A or B side. So guess who's going first? That guy.
I was gonna go first.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. So, I'm going to A side this week. So
okay.
this weekend we actually went out to brunch, and we actually met up with some very good friends that we used to be part of marriage ministry with.
Yes.
So it was a good time just to be able to, catch up with them, be able to just sit and talk, and just to see, for them to even hear what we're doing right now, and just the prayers that they're, doing for us, because they see, the impact that we're doing. So it was awesome. Just like I said, just being outside, being with them. So
that's great. It was a great time. And we got introduced to another great place to eat.
That is true. Us being foodies, we found another good place.
Yeah.
And it's right near.
I know it's near us too. It's great. It's great. Yeah. It's good. It's like a cool vibe too. It's just But yeah. So I'm going to go with A/B side, because the A side was that I was able to get my husband to go with me to Target to go shopping. Is great. The B side is because he was there, Target didn't have anything that I needed.
You couldn't spend all that money. That's what it was. Target knew I was
Usually, every time I go to Target, I have no problem with them telling me what I need to buy. Today, I was listening, and they were not saying anything.
I was there, so
I was like, "Oh."
They said, "Take it all down so she don't see it."
It was literally nothing, and we went in the morning, so it wasn't like they had just had this big sale or something, and the shelves were bare. It was everything's like, "Oh, shop online here. Check us out for more sizes here." And I'm like, "No, guys, I want to spend the money today, right now. Like he's here." Didn't happen. So
it's all good though.
So I literally had to come back home.
Just wasn't the right day.
It wasn't. Every time I go looking for something, I never find it. Just like Home Goods, I'm looking for this particular mug. I've gone to several Home Goods several times the last several weeks.
And then when you don't want it, it's going to be.
And yeah, exactly. When I buy it, then it's going to be everywhere. Oh well. So that's more like my B side. So, anywho, all right, so let's jump into this week's topic, which is, how do you fight fair? Yeah. So I know we've done this marriage myth buster before, but some people believe that if you're fighting, you don't have a healthy relationship. And I don't understand why that's the case. Like, we're two different people. We have past experience, past lives before we even met each other. So I have my opinions. You have yours. So of course we're gonna disagree at times.
So let me throw a little story in here. So
story time's not on the list.
I'm adding this anyway. Okay. So this, it's kind of what we're gonna talk about. It reminded me of one of our first conversations that we had.
Okay.
When we first started talking on the phone a little deep, and we had a conversation about spirituality. And when I mean this is when I knew I was like, this is the woman for me, because we actually literally was on the phone having a heated discussion, very heated discussion about spirituality. Because at that time, like I said, I just started to get close with the Lord and stuff like that. But we had a, like I said, you remember the conversation?
I don't.
Okay, but we was having.
I need more.
Okay, so we was talking about the fact that when I was telling you, it's like I don't have to go to church to.
Yes.
Now you remember?
I was like, yeah. I was like, we've had.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Okay.
So like that was when I said we had a heated discussion.
Yes, we did.
But it wasn't heated where we was like, I don't want to talk to you, hang up the phone. Like I'm hanging up the phone. Like it was just heated. Like we was allowed to get our thoughts, our opinions about certain things out, but it wasn't like we was trying to talk down to each other. Right. We wasn't, speaking negatively. We was trying to get an understanding what each other was saying.
Right.
But it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like we was trying to, say, all right, forget you, or try to, like I say, stab somebody with something, with your words where it's like, it hurts. But we never had that. And I knew after that conversation, because like I remember I got off the phone, I was like, did we just argue? Like literally that was in my head. I was like, did we just argue? And I'm like, it feels like we did, but we ended the conversation because I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So.
Well, also too, we're very like when we're talking about things that we're passionate about, we can sound
because I could be
like it's heated.
I could be like, why are you arguing?
And we feel like we're talking.
We're just talking.
It's just that we're very passionate about what we're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah. I do remember that conversation when you but yeah, it's just a part of life. And I just thought that it would be good for us to just talk about ways that people can have disagreements without it getting ugly.
Yeah. No, okay.
Or getting personal. Okay? No. All right, so I have 5 tips for you guys today. All right, and the first one is accepting and adjusting to our differences. So this is literally what we were just talking about, and that wasn't even planned. Okay, but yeah, we're both different, and we both think about things differently, and we come to conclusions different ways. So it's just like understanding that that's okay, and try to just get an understanding from their perspective. So it's funny because it's like usually when people get married, they like opposites attract.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, I love you. Yes, he's so different because he does this and it's great. But then it's like the moment you say I do, those same differences drive you bananas. Like, it's like, I can't believe you don't put the toilet paper that where it goes over instead of, and you do it under. And the way you load the dishwasher.
Yeah, as you can say, she's saying certain things that I still do.
Yeah.
And I like how she did it kind of like, she tried to make it smooth, but I'm receiving it. I'm receiving it.
Yeah. But that's what I said. We've learned like before, especially even the way that it's not even so much as the way you load the dishwasher, because I feel like the way you load the dishwasher, it just puts more work on you because whatever can't fit, you then hand wash. So that's your prerogative. But it's more the way you unload the dishwasher. And I'm just like what's funny is because, so Jay will unload dishwasher, or he'll put dishes that go, they're stacked underneath the cabinet that they actually go in. And so I'm like, oh, are these clean? Are these dirty? Why are they sitting on the counter? Oh, I meant to put it up, but you were just... So yeah, so it's the whole thing. But I've learned, or I'm still learning. I've learned to get over the whole loading, because I'm like, at least he's, this is what he wants to do. If that's how he wants to do it, that's on him. I'm learning to accept the way he unloads as well. It just puts clutter on the countertop.
Yeah, so I'll just add to what she just said. Not talking about the dishwasher, but
I was like, whoa,
what? The part about accepting and adjusting to our differences. What we have to always remember is that, again, we're in our marriage, we are one, but we still have experiences that we've gone through that shape how we do certain things. So this is where the, a lot of communication, where you have to communicate about why. Not just saying this is how I do it. Just communicate why, so your spouse can get an understanding of what it can be. It can be something just, I don't say silly, but something just important to you. It's like, okay, this is just how my mom showed me how to wash dishes, and this is just something that I do. So it's I'm not saying that's for me. I'm just it could be an example of that's what it can be for that particular person. So never try to undermine why they do it. Just try to get an understanding of what's the reason behind it. What's the reason behind it, and also, like, how did they come to that conclusion? Because sometimes it's just like we say, we're not each other's, like, we're not mind readers. It's fascinating for me to hear how he comes to a conclusion. Because like you said, we have different approaches to things. So sometimes we're like, so how did you get there? Like, what goes on in your head that you got there, or you think this way? So you guys seen it already on previous episodes where I bring out a quote or something, and then she's waiting for me to explain why. So I'm just example. Yeah. I say a quote and she's waiting for me to explain, how did I get to this? How did you associate that with this? Yeah. And that's what I've learned, because I also have learned to appreciate that Jay has all the words. So I now appreciate that, but I'm waiting so I can, put my summary together. But I allow him to speak and let him use all the words so that he can feel heard. Because if I don't, well, what I used to do is just cut him off and like, okay, this is really good. So or speed him along. Like, can you get to the So what do you want me to do? But like I said, I appreciate the difference, and we're working through, that. But especially when you're in the middle of a fight, that is not the time to be like. Actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. But it's just not the time to be nitpicking on the differences. Correct. Of each other. Okay. So the next part is putting aside selfishness and pursue your spouse. I didn't say that. Pursue your spouse. Okay. Yes. There you go. So this is something you gotta remember when you're in a intense time of fellowship, as we call it. That you have to stop trying to focus on being right, and two, trying to think about what you're going to say next. I want to add that, because the whole part, of active listening, and I think we've talked about, but if you look up what active listening means, it's you have to be able to literally listen, not just listen to the words, but also see the body language, see, the tone. All that is a collaboration of how you hear stuff. So you being able to stop focusing on being right and just listen to get an understanding of what your spouse is saying before already putting your words into thought of what you're going to say next. Because when you do that, you already cut your ears off. You're not listening to what they're saying. You're focusing on what you want to say next. So, and then take responsibility for your part. Again, we all, and I'm not saying me and her, but in an intense time of fellowship, we all got to take responsibility for our part. And it can be, it can be anything. It can be anything. It can be, like I say, your tone, how you say something. It's your body language. So if you're cutting yourself off and being defensive as they start talking, take responsibility for why. Those are the things that I'm thinking about taking responsibility for your. Well, part. Even to that, own what you did or didn't do that led to the disagreement. Correct. Because we tend to gloss over that when we're in that moment, when we're having the fight, the disagreement. When we're having the disagreement,
it's easy for me to not accept that I did this, or this is how I responded to something that I thought you were, meaning to do, that you did or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to own that my bad, I misread the situation.
Yeah.
So that's on me. And then that also, by you holding yourself accountable, that frees up your spouse to be like, oh, okay. So I see they're not trying to put the blame on me.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to own my part. Mm-hmm. And then you realize it was just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But you have to own it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Mm-hmm. And then put your pride aside.
Yeah.
And I'll say, that's
a big one.
That's a big one. I'm not gonna say for men. I'll say for both parties. Uh-huh. Because that goes back to your experiences of growing up. What you feel you hold more important. Uh-huh. So it's like, if you say, oh, I'm not gonna let them get the last word, put your pride aside. It's not about who gets the last word. Mm-hmm. It's about having a conversation where you both can openly talk and discuss whatever y'all dealing with.
I'm definitely guilty of that. Because growing up, I just knew I was going to be a lawyer. So I felt like each discussion, each disagreement was my opportunity to shine.
And it's funny you say that, because that's what a lot of my teachers thought I was going to be.
Which is why, yeah.
Yeah. Because I never wanted to give people, you have to give me detail why. You can't just say this is how it is.
Exactly.
And I used to always do that. I still do that now at work. It's crazy, but.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I have my points. I have my evidence to prove that I'm right. And that I deserve to win this fight.
And it's not about winning.
It's like, but it's not about winning. Yeah. So that's why I have to put my pride aside. Put my evidence aside. Yeah. And just have a conversation and just deal with it.
Don't need receipts.
At the end of the day, right? What if I win the case? What?
All you're gonna do is put your spouse down. That's all you're doing. If you win, all you're doing is.
If I'm always winning.
Yeah.
And then because we're very competitive, I will keep record. Like, hey, I don't even know why you're trying to fight me. This is not gonna work. You're not gonna win. But that's what it is. It's not a competition. Like, it's not a competition. At the end of the day, both of you all lose.
Exactly.
So, okay. The third tip is to talk about it. This is also something that we've worked through.
Yes.
Okay. So, it used to be I would avoid bringing up conversations because I know, or topics because I know, it's going to be a big ordeal. He's going to blow it out of proportion. It's going to become an intense moment of fellowship. I don't have the energy for it. So I just don't bring it up. And you can do that thinking that you're creating a peace in your home, but you're really not. Like, everyone's walking on eggshells. It's like, there's friction there between you and your spouse, even if you don't say it. There's like a big old elephant in the room that y'all both walking around, and it's so. Just go ahead and talk about it.
That's the worst.
Exactly. Just go ahead and talk about it. Silent treatment. I feel like silence is whatever, especially because I'm still learning. Okay, we are on talk about it. Okay, so another part of the talk about it is deciding the right time, location, to be able to have a conversation. Meaning that you don't want to have friends over or be out at a restaurant and y'all finna have this discussion. Because more than likely, the restaurant that you're in is loud, so you're gonna have to yell for it to be heard. And if it's personal, you don't want people in your business. It's just like a whole thing. So you always got to make sure that whenever you do want to talk about the issue at hand, that it's in a place where you can have a normal, like, you can check your tone, check everything, and be able to actually have a conversation about it.
That's even inside your home. That's the same thing. Like,
true.
And I'll just give it. This is not an example for us, but example is, husband come home from work and you try to have the conversation right when they come home from work. It's like, that's not the right time.
Right. Exactly. Especially if you haven't given him the heads up that you want to talk to him.
Yeah, you don't, and that's, I don't know why that would be the right time to do it and why it happens like that. But that's not the right time to do it.
So I can elaborate on why you could potentially see it as being a good time. It's because this has been bothering you, and I've been thinking about it.
Okay.
So I feel like you should be thinking about it too.
Gotcha.
So of course, when you come home, now's the perfect time for us to talk about it.
I got you.
Versus, more than likely, that's not what's happening.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking about it. You're
at work
thinking about everything else.
Yeah.
So when you come home, you're like, oh, I need to, relax before we have that conversation or whatever. And I'm like, no, let's talk about it now.
Yeah.
No. What I was going to say too is one thing that I've had to learn with us is, because Jay would ask me, he always knows the wrong time to try to figure out what's going on with me when I'm still processing. So that's one thing. Like, I've learned, because is that in this one? Okay, cool. I can talk about it. So I have a very sarcastic. Let me rephrase.
Yeah,
I can be very sarcastic in my comments, just because I've kind of been known to be kind of like not really the funny one, but I have little like one-liners.
You use one-liners.
I used to.
You used one-liners in the past to mash your.
Well, yeah. Okay, he's trying to get deep.
That's
what he says. I'm just like, I was kind of funny and whatever.
Okay.
So I learned, because my initial reaction is going to be sarcastic and passive aggressive, basically. So I've learned to not immediately respond if I'm heated, but now I will tell him, I'm like, hey, now's not a good time. I'm not ready to talk about it. Let's talk about it later. But he will also ask me and be like, what's wrong? And what will I say? Nothing. He's like, nothing, and roll over. That bothers him so much.
When like I said,
because he knows something's wrong.
Yeah, like it's not like I just met. I've known you. I know exactly there's something wrong. Just don't say that. And it's like, okay, cool.
So that's why I'm getting better.
You're getting better. Yeah.
Something's wrong, but I don't want to talk about it, or I don't know how to put it in words.
And see, that's the thing that is all I need.
Yeah.
Because that will say, okay, when she's ready to have a conversation, she will, and she's not. Yeah. Again, when she says that, it changes the atmosphere too.
Right.
Because she has verbalized exactly what she's feeling is right now, because she can't explain it.
Yep.
So it lightens the load on her. I don't say it lightens the load, but it doesn't put that tense in the air anymore.
Right.
So, and then it's like, then she can, not say go to sleep, but then it's like, she can be able to just kind of be like, cool, it feels better now. So, so. Yeah,
because it's like, right, I don't like to feel as though, even though he has never said this, I feel like when he asks me about it, it's because he's ready to talk. And if I don't know how to put words to it yet, I feel the pressure to make it make sense to him. Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, so now I'm talking, and I don't want to be talking, and I'm probably using the wrong words, and I definitely have a tone, because I'm like, this is not what I want to be doing right now anyways.
Yeah.
So I've learned just like, no, I just don't know. Like, and that's but it also has to do with therapy. Like, I have to, and also we tell the kids, we need you to use your words to try to figure it out. Like, I understand if you don't know, but what do you think? What does it feel closest to?
Yeah.
Okay, so now the fourth tip is to forgive. You always need to have a heart of forgiveness, especially when you're married.
Why you gotta laugh like that?
Well, because the saying is, the people that are closest to you are the ones that cause you the most pain.
Oh. Okay.
Because there's just no way for us to be like living together, having this life together, creating this union together, where there won't be anything that I do to offend you.
Oh yeah.
And vice versa, because we're humans, and it's not like we're doing it intentionally.
That's true.
So that's why I was like, you especially have to be able to forgive when you're married, because there's just no way that we're going to get it perfect every single time. And even like the Bible, like we don't get it perfect, and God forgives us, and He tells us we got to forgive each other.
That's not. You're right.
70 times 7.
77 times 7.
I don't know, a whole bunch of 7. Basically all the time when you do the calculation, like every few seconds, you're supposed to forgive. So that's what it's like. So if that's what Jesus is doing for us, we have to model that out on earth, and especially with our spouse. And yes, I say forgive, but it's not always easy. And then I know too, one thing, like people always like, oh, well, if I forgive, I gotta forget. And we're not Jesus. Like, I don't know how can you have something that's painful and you're like, I forgive you, and I've forgotten about it. No, that doesn't always work.
No, that's true. It doesn't always work.
I was like, the Bible's like, you have to forgive, and then you not necessarily forget, but you want to forget that the level of hurt that's associated with that person or issue. I don't think I'm doing a very good job in explaining it, but that's why I'm like I won't forget that, so and so hurt me, but I can forgive them and understand that, just because they did that to hurt me doesn't mean that makes them a bad person. You know what I'm saying? No, but I still will remember that pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
if it's making sense or not.
Okay, so because I'm what you're saying, it makes sense, But I think to kind of go with that is if you're I'm trying to think the class. I took a class where it's talking about anytime you deal with trauma of any type of sort. What it does, it puts that pathway in your brain. So anytime you face something like that, it's going to trigger.
I believe it.
It's going to trigger that instant. So if you're constantly, not say constantly, but if you're holding on to those painful, traumatic moments, if I did something to you, it's going to trigger that right away. That's and it's going to go back to that memory of
to that path
and then it's like, that's why it's like, was it renewing your mind and stuff like that. That's the process of creating a new pathway of first identifying that trigger, and then creating a new pathway for your brain to no longer go back to that trigger, but creating a new pathway, a new direction for that thought to go to. So,
no, that's good. Also, to that point, if there are relationships that created traumatic pain for you, please get help. See a therapist for that, because what's going to happen is that if you don't deal with it and don't heal and be able to forgive, not necessarily forget or reconcile with that person, what will happen is when your spouse does something that's similar, like Jay said, you're going to take it out on your spouse when they're not the person who did it to you initially. And that's why I really love forgiveness, because forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about you and making sure that you're good and that you can move on and that you are having a fulfilling life, right? Because if you don't forgive, oh gosh, somebody said not forgiving is like something about the fire and wanting somebody else to burn.
Yeah, no, basically giving somebody you taking poison.
Oh yeah,
you taking
and
poison,
another person
and you want the other person to
get sick.
Get sick or something like that. It's like
and so that's why forgiveness is healing for you. It'll be great if everyone who hurt you apologize. And that's even with your spouse.
Yeah.
There are gonna be things that your spouse does. They won't apologize. And it could be because some people are stubborn. It could be because they honestly might not feel like they were wrong. Yeah. And they're not ready to admit their part in the disagreement.
That's experiences too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why someone might not be apologizing, but just because they don't ask for forgiveness doesn't mean that you can't forgive them.
Correct.
Because it's all about you, not necessarily about them.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I have to say about forgiveness.
Okay.
And yeah, just do it all the time. That's literally it. Just do it all the time.
Yeah. So and then
the
last one is it's mine right here. No, it's fight naked. So it's we learned this at a conference we went to.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting, if I want to say.
Oh yeah.
So when you're arguing, do it naked.
Yeah.
Take a shower, like do it where you guys have your clothes off, because what that does, it really does change the atmosphere.
It changes the atmosphere.
It definitely changes.
And it's literally like there's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing.
There's no distraction.
There's nothing in between y'all
there's
now.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be upset with someone
when
you see all the good.
You see all of it, and birthday suit and everything.
So it's kind of like okay, but it also allows you to be able to like check your motivation behind the fight. Like,
are you fighting just to fight with them, or is it what is not the conclusion, but what are you trying to get?
Yeah.
What are you trying to get from it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So. And
is it really important?
That's the other thing. If it's over, again, and I'm gonna say this for myself because I know.
Oh gosh.
No, when we first got married and we shared the same closet, like, I would leave certain. See, that's her fate. But for me, because that's what I was used to doing. Mm-hmm. But so that's why I brought that up. So, and then the other one is check your tone. As I said earlier. Why can't I think of it now? But the active listening when you're actually even when you're talking, it's I believe 7% is actually what people hear is only 7%. 35, I believe, is tone. No, it's body language, which is 35%, and then I think it's 58% is your tone, or it might be vice versa. It might be 35 tone and body language. So, if me and my wife are speaking and my tone is off, she's gonna receive that tone in the way that I'm taking, in the way I'm giving it to her. So you have to check your tone. You gotta check how you're talking and make it. Your tone should be in a loving spirit. Yeah. What you're saying should be in a loving spirit. It shouldn't be in a demeaning. Is it you? So that's why it's like when you fight naked, I'm telling you right now, when you fight naked, you don't have to worry about tone. You ain't got to worry about tone, because now it's like, okay, I like it. I like it a lot.
Okay. That's why you want this.
You know it. Okay, so.
But no, I'm gonna finish because I don't trust you. Okay. Also, fighting naked allows you to keep the main thing the main thing.
That's true.
If it's a disagreement on, let's just say, someone overspent for money, whatever. You had a budget, someone overspent. Don't start talking about, and remember 3 months ago when I had wanted to go out with my friends and you were like, no, you can't go out with your friends. Like, that has nothing to do with the situation right now. We're talking about this.
Yeah.
You didn't even clean up after yourself. Like, when you're naked, it's easy to keep the main thing, and usually the main thing becomes nothing because then you start doing something else.
But see, and you talking about me.
But that's the whole point of fighting naked is to just really just like, okay, we're literally Adam and Eve up in here.
Yeah, just to
and does it make sense?
But it's
for us to be fighting.
It's I would say more a visual representation of separating what's holding you back from having having a real good conversation. Yeah, that's all it is.
Complete transparency.
Yeah, you taking the clothes off, so now it's okay. You can't hide behind anything.
Yes.
So, and then, No, and then folk.
That's what it said. Oh, the blame game.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Sorry.
See, so another one is focus on the problem, not the person, and stop the blame game. Like we kind of said earlier, take ownership of what you did. Take ownership of it. And it's not like if, like, I guess for me, I'll say just take ownership. I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you need no. Just take ownership that you said that wrong. That was incorrect. We can move on. Mm-hmm. Simple as to me, it's simple as that. But
well, and also it's us fighting together against the problem.
Correct.
Instead of us fighting each other. Yeah. And so I'm not going, so back to finances. I don't know why that's on, like, all my examples are money related, but maybe, maybe that's why. But, so I don't know why all my examples are about money, but I guess maybe we just went to the store. Okay.
That's why.
But, so it's just like if someone, spent money that they were not supposed to spend. So now your budget is out of whack. It's us working together to bring the budget back into check, not me blaming him for overspending or him blaming me for overspending. Because that's pretty much more how it would be. But it's not him, like us blaming each other. It's us working together to resolve the problem.
Correct.
And that's how it should always be. No matter whatever the situation is, we should be working together to resolve the issue instead of pointing fingers and blaming each other for causing the problem.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't guess you got anything else?
Those are all my points today.
So again, thank you guys for listening or watching.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe this episode. Share it with someone.
Yes.
Comment as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything specific that you guys would like us to bring to another episode, just leave it in the comments. Let us know.
We'll be up in the comments.
Follow us on Instagram at Bsideofmarriage and on Facebook at the Bsideofmarriage. And then as well as you can, if you're watching this, you can also listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yes.
So, and until next week.
Peace.
See you later.